The Gothic city of Yharnam is one in which danger and terror lurk around every corner. One wrong move, and your life could be brought to a brutal and untimely end. But of all the hunters that have walked across the blighted world, there is arguably no story more tragic than that of Father Gascoigne. Although he dedicated his life to cleansing the world of the innumerable evils plaguing it, his fate was nothing short of a terrible one. This is the tragic tale of Father Gascoigne. Owing to the fact that Father Gascoigne hailed from a foreign land and that records of his life prior to his arrival in Yharnam are either far beyond reach or non-existent, virtually nothing is known of his upbringing and early years. It is assumed that he was brought up in a good God-fearing household and travelled to the city at some point after completing his training in his land of origin, since he went by the moniker Father Gascoigne, a title that was used for clerics that resided far beyond Yharnam and its surrounds. Regardless of the precise nature of his beginnings, what is known is that he joined the Hunters of the Healing Church so that he too could contribute his unique talents towards eradicating evil from the world. However, he never actually became a priest of the Healing Church, so the precise nature of his affiliation is also shrouded in mystery. Upon joining the Hunters, Gascoigne would either be assigned or elect to partner with another old hunter by the name of Henryk, who was described as quiet and taciturn. While Gascoigne favoured his hunter's axe and brandished a hunter's blunderbuss, Henryk preferred throwing knives to keep any threats at bay, though if required, he would use his saw cleaver and hunter pistol. Henryk also donned yellow coveralls to ward off dark beasts, while Gascoigne wore the more conventional black overcoats of the Healing Church. Although the two differed in terms of their overall approach and strategies, they were more than a formidable duo. While the exact dynamics of their relationship are largely unknown, the assumption is that Henryk may have been the brains of the outfit while Gascoigne served as the brawn. In all likelihood though, the two fed off one another and used their good judgment to deal with difficult situations as efficiently as possible. But even though they were highly effective, the pair were also justifiably ruthless in carrying out their duty. Whenever they encountered victims of the scourge, they would dispose of them as swiftly as possible. But even they knew that this alone would not be enough to stem the tide. For this reason, even if they suspected that someone had been exposed in some small way, they would dispatch them before any signs of affliction could begin to manifest. It is entirely possible that Gascoigne and Henryk may have killed persons who had not been infected, but given just how dire the consequences would be for failing to identify and eliminate a potential scourge beast, their relative paranoia was unfortunately entirely necessary. Sparing one of the infected would only serve to harm others, so under no circumstances could this be allowed to transpire. From all of the accounts about the pair, their notoriety quickly spread, and it is almost certain that they managed to earn the respect and adulation of more than a few admirers. And while Gascoigne and Henryk may have been ruthless, it would seem that they were still highly chivalrous when it came to persons of the female persuasion. To this end, a woman by the name of Viola soon became of great interest to Gascoigne. The two ended up becoming romantically involved, and at some point in their relationship, Gascoigne gifted Viola a brooch. Within it was a bright red gem that was created from a blood droplet that had been inscribed with her name. Gascoigne would then go on to father two daughters with Viola, and seemingly as a result of his newfound love, he parted ways with the Healing Church, ostensibly so that he could commit his efforts to protecting his family and raising his daughters. It must be noted, however, that this is only speculation and that some other event may have prompted Gascoigne to sever his ties with the Healing Church. In any case, whether it was of his own accord or under duress, Gascoigne no longer associated himself with the church. That said, he still worked as a hunter, doing his part to deal with the terrible, ever-present scourge. It would seem that Gascoigne was indeed a devoted husband and loving father, but this love and devotion would be put increasingly to the test as Gascoigne continued to hunt. Night after night, Gascoigne would leave to eliminate victims of the scourge, but in spite of his immense resolve and cast iron will, the stench of the blood that was spilled began to have a dire effect on his psyche. Realizing the strain her husband was being placed under on a nigh perpetual basis, Viola would take out a small music box and have it play a song that both her and Gascoigne greatly enjoyed. When the hunter heard the tinkling notes of the music box, he would remember his family and the deep love he had for them. In turn, this would cool his nerves and prevent the bloodlust from fully taking hold. Much like Gascoigne himself, the exact origins of the music box are not known. Some surmise that it was a keepsake from his childhood, others that it was something that once belonged to Viola and shared with Gascoigne to bring the two closer together. Whatever the truth, the two left a small scrap of paper within the lid of the music box that simply read, Viola and Gascoigne. If nothing else, the music box was a symbol of the lasting love between the couple. In fact, its music is so powerful that it is said to have an effect on several different denizens that make Yharnam and its surrounds their home. Over time, Gascoigne seemed to find it harder and harder to hear the music and come to his senses. Perhaps it was the repeated exposure to the blood, or simply a result of wandering off into the dark a little too far, a little too frequently. But eventually, Gascoigne simply didn't make it back home. After playing the familiar tune from the music box and waiting for what seemed like an eternity, Viola must have realized that something terrible had happened and that Gascoigne must have succumbed to the scourge of the beast. Not knowing what else to do, Viola decided, in what we can only assume was a blind panic, to leave her daughters to watch over the house and venture out into the night in order to find her lost husband. Sadly for Viola, in her desperation to track down Gascoigne, she left the music box behind. What transpired after this is not clear, but in principle there are two theories. In the first scenario, Viola must have come upon Gascoigne in his deranged state, but seeing that she did not have the music box to bring her husband back into the realms of sanity, he was almost certainly unable to recognize her. For this reason, there is the possibility that, in his bloodlust, he murdered Viola since he could not discern between friend or foe, human or beast. While this is indeed a compelling and incredibly tragic theory, the other, potentially more likely possibility is that Viola stumbled upon those that had been affected by the scourge and was in fact murdered by them. While prowling the night, Gascoigne would most likely have come across her corpse and realized what had occurred, thus driving him completely mad in the process. Whether he murdered Viola or found her battered body later on, Gascoigne's mind was utterly lost as a result. He had dedicated his life to protecting his family and freeing the world of the dreaded scourge, and as a reward for his commitment, he essentially lost everything and was consumed by the very thing he sought to vanquish. But amazingly, even on the verge of turning into a beast himself, Gascoigne would still be affected by the melodic tinkling of the music box. However, instead of it bringing him a sense of relief and calming him down, it would cause him to stop dead in his tracks and clutch his head for a while, seemingly in the throes of agony. This is because the music box still reminded Gascoigne of his family, but now being aware of Viola's demise and losing the connection he had with his daughters, it only served the purpose of inflicting a great and enduring agony upon him. Gascoigne would finally meet his end at the hands of another hunter who fought him tirelessly after the blood-drunk Gascoigne attacked him. After being heavily wounded, Gascoigne transformed into a hideous bestial creature and continued to relentlessly attack the hunter. However, after wearing Gascoigne down and employing his incredible skills in battle, the hunter emerged victorious. In his dying moments, Gascoigne shrieked, "Forgive me," as his humanity and memories returned to him. Understanding his folly and the awful truth of what had happened, Father Gascoigne was no more. The greatest of champions and most ironclad of wills are not immune to the effects of evil and madness, and Father Gascoigne is proof of this fact. Gascoigne must have understood the risks to some degree, but it is entirely obvious that he underestimated just how deeply he would become blood drunk. He must have had great faith in himself and even the power of the music box, but battling the darkness alone for too long slowly took its toll on the once formidable Gascoigne. The fact of the matter is that Father Gascoigne was indeed too far gone to be saved, and that the only way to release him from his torment was to end his cursed existence. If it is some consolation, in coming to his senses and crying out for forgiveness at the very end, he was able to somewhat redeem himself. We can only hope that he is now at rest with his beloved Viola in the afterlife, and that he has finally found the peace he so rightly deserves. And that is the terrible and tragic tale of Father Gascoigne. So what do you think of Gascoigne as a character? Did he kill Viola, or was he driven insane after she was killed by scourge beasts? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for daily gaming lore, analyses, views, and more. From me and the crew, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Later!